Hey everyone, I got my Pixel 8 Pro a day earlier than expected and I'm pretty excited about that. So let's get started and take a look at the phone. So when you open the box, you're greeted with the back of the phone, and in my case I got the bay color. It's a very nice blue and it has a nice darker G on it for accent. I think it would have been cool if they completed the frame and visor with a matte finish as well. Maybe with a lighter or darker blue to kind of accent it. But I'm not totally against the chrome look. It makes it pop a little bit. Another thing with the back is that it's not really textured, but it's like soft touch. Besides the fact that it feels different, it's not as slippery as matte or glossy glass. It also hides the fingerprints just as well, maybe even a little bit better than matte glass. And focusing in on the visor, you can see that they merged all of the sensors together into one glass instead of separating the telephoto lens. And you can see the LED flash and the thermal sensor. And since we're looking at the back of the phone still, I was able to get the case for 25 bucks. And I mean, this is just a perfect case to get for the phone. It matches the blue perfectly, and when you put it on, it fits really well. The other major physical change to the phone is the glass, and it's flat now versus slightly curved on the edges. And I'm okay with it, especially since they made it really smooth going from the glass to the frame. They did a really good job with that. The fact that they made it all symmetrical pretty much all the way around, I can't tell if the bottom's a little bit thicker, but it's so close that I would say it's all symmetrical. That's a nice touch to it. So while we're on the topic of the screen, I think that actually has one of the biggest upgrades. Not the physical flat screen part, but really the brightness. So now it's rated at 2400 peak brightness, and that seems like it's gonna be pretty crazy in broad daylight, because I've used the Samsung at 1750 nits, and that seems plenty bright. So I can just imagine how much better the 2400 is gonna be. Yeah, even putting it on the manually going up in brightness, that's really bright. And it looks really clear. It's an awesome screen now. I will say it's comparable to the best now. Another major upgrade is the front camera, and not the camera itself, but the fact that they were able to upgrade the face recognition to, I think they call it tier 3, and lets it be used to unlock or to sign in to banking apps and more secure apps. Whereas before, you were kind of limited to only using it to unlock the phone. So as you can probably tell, I already did the setup on the phone. It was a very easy experience. It asked me if I wanted to import it from my Pixel Fold. I did that. It took, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to download all the apps and install all the apps. What I did want to point out is that during that time when it was downloading and installing all the apps for about 45 minutes, that's usually when the phone gets pretty much the hottest when you first get the phone. And it did get hot. I mean, because every single phone gets hot when it's installing that many apps. I think it was installing 125, something ridiculous. Apparently I had too many apps. But one thing I did notice is, for the most part, phones tend to get really hot in one spot, and it tends to radiate less to the edges of the phone. With the Pixel 8 Pro, it felt very even, so it seems like they're spreading out the heat really well, and that feels to me, that's promising, because it feels like it's gonna handle heat a lot better. So now moving on to pretty much my favorite part of every phone, and that's the camera and the camera app. So with the Pixel 8 Pro, I could already see some modes that I don't see on the Pixel Fold even after I updated to Android 14. One of the modes is Action Pan, which is actually a photo mode, not a video mode. Obviously, the Pro settings is another one that we don't get on the Pixel Fold. If you go to the video, the one that was added here is the blur mode, which is basically like the cinematic mode from, I think it's called cinematic mode from iPhone, or the portrait video from Samsung. I think it's gonna be a really cool mode. Hopefully it works really well. Being that it's Google, it's probably gonna be pretty good, especially once it's done filming. It'll make it even better in post. So with the Pro settings, you get to choose between 12 and 50 megapixels. You get to choose between just JPEG or RAW and JPEG. And then you also have the lens selection to either leave it at auto or do manual. You also get some extra controls. So on the left side is where you get to choose those settings for the Pro, and then on the right side you get to choose, or you get to adjust the brightness, shadow, white balance, focus, shutter speed, and ISO. I think that's enough to give you a different experience if you want to mess with it, or if you're really good at knowing what to use. That would definitely be good enough to get some good shots. Actually able to use it. It feels a little bit easier to use than Samsung's version of it. Even for someone like me that's not a professional, I was able to figure it out and actually get a good result from it. So now I've had the camera app open for a bit, and the phone is hot. Obviously it's gonna be hot, but just touching my hand around the phone, it's cooler down here, but pretty much from here to here, it feels about the same temperature, which is really good. That's a good area to spread out the heat and dissipate. And that also, it travels also to the frame. So let's see, how high does it go? Pretty much from here to here is hot on the frame. So that's pretty good amount of surface area to kind of keep it cool. Let's see if after a session of recording a lot of video, it keeps me from uploading it to the cloud like I did with the Pixel Fold. All right, so we're taking a look at the Magic Editor in the Google Photos app, which is a huge deal. This is one of the bigger selling points for this phone. And I'm looking at, just use the tool. I selected my cat, and by a single tap, it did a really good job of highlighting the cat. It did cut off a couple of whiskers and a few stray hairs, but basically I moved them down, and on the back was a computer screen. So I kind of expected just, a terrible outcome on the screen, but I'm looking at it and the screen looks like that could actually be what was on the screen when I was working on there. So I thought that was really interesting. You do get 4 options. 2 of the options were terrible because it just looks like there's a massive shadow on top of the head. The third option is a little flat on the head. And third and fourth a little bit flat on the head, but they actually added some items on the screen, and it's just really cool what this thing did. It's not perfect, but it's really good already. So I could just imagine after some time of fine tuning and fixing, I can just imagine what the results are gonna be like. So I'm really excited about that. So that's pretty much the biggest upgrade in terms of the editing that we were able to see. Alright, so now let's take a quick look at the thermometer app. There's nothing special about it. You get to choose your materials, or you could leave it as default, and it kind of, I guess, does some sort of best estimation that it can. One thing I did notice, which I found kind of funny, and I'm pretty sure it might just be the label that's wrong. So the smooth display setting, the label on it reads, automatically raises the refresh rate from 60 to 120 hertz for some content, and increases battery usage. So that seems like it's just the label for the Pixel 8. They might have just been an oversight where they didn't update it from 1 to 120 on the Pixel 8 Pro. I mean, other than that, it feels nicer. It's probably their best, no, not probably. I'm going to say, hands down, this is their best design to date. Obviously, it's very similar to the 6 and 7. But the 6 and 7 had the regular glass, and they improved the transition from the frame to the front and back glass, where it's the best I've felt on a Pixel phone. Very smooth and very comfortable to hold. From my first impressions, it's a very nice phone. I haven't been this excited for a phone since it's been a while. I mean, I was excited for the Pixel Fold, but that's a folding phone. That kind of one of the newer things right now. But this is just a standard, slab, candy bar, whatever phone. So this is pretty much the first one I've been excited for in a while. I'm interested in seeing if there's any improvement in the video capability, because I know Google's photos have always been good, but their video recording has needed some help. The 7 did okay. But still, I don't think it was as good as Samsung's. I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about like the quality, because the color you could fix, you can't fix the quality. And I think Samsung just takes the best video quality right now on Android. I'll check it. I'll test it with the versus the Pixel 8 Pro. I'm excited about that. Photo quality can't go wrong. First impressions is very promising to me. Another big selling point is the fact that they have 7 years of support, OS and security, which is the biggest deal. I mean, 7 is amazing, and if you're one of those that really likes to keep a phone for a long time, or if you hand them down to other people in your family or friends, that would be a nice benefit to have, where they're gonna keep getting the security patches and some new features. Probably not all the features, but some new features, and that, I mean, it's just a great selling point. You can't go wrong with that. The fact that they're supporting it for an additional 2 years or maybe 3, I think it's 2 years, really alone is worth the $100 difference. Because remember, they're paying for employees to make sure that the updates work on this phone. So there's 2 years additional that they're gonna have to make sure that the updates work on this phone. That alone is probably worth the extra $100. Thanks for watching. I hope that this video provided some good information to help you decide where to get or not if you're on the fence. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I appreciate a like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.